You mean in general?
No, I already know that one. I mean, for your cover reveal in 30 minutes.
Whoa! 30? First is today. Oh my god.
No, it's in 30 minutes. You've been posting about it all week.
That is true. Oh my god. I don't think I have enough time to get ready. Oh my god. Okay, thank you so much for calling and letting me know. Oh my god, I'm gonna get ready right now. Okay, thank you so much. I love you so much. Bye. Hello?
Are you nervous?
Yes, I'm nervous. Ah!
You forgot, didn't you?
Yes.
What could possibly make you forget?
Why'd you hit him? Thanks, dear. Could not tell you off the top of my head.
Girl, you better hustle.
I know, thank you.
You have 15 minutes.
Take it, 15. Sam! You've got 10 minutes. Thank you, Dad! Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Happy Halloween. Okay, this is stupid. Hi, everybody! For everyone who just said hi, Dr. Nick, I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for coming and joining me for my very first cover reveal. This is really exciting. When I first started the whole writing thing and the publishing thing, which, was a little idea I tweaked every now and then in my life, ever since I wrote a story in 7th grade about a little boy and his typewriter, and my mom and my grandmother and my family said that I could write. It was always sort of something that I thought maybe I could do, but gosh, just wasn't going to happen. But it's happening now. So I just want to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for coming with me on my journey. Thank you to my husband, who has been just the most tremendous support. Thank you for my mom, who has always been my biggest cheerleader. Thank you for my dad, who has always looked at me and given me such spiritual strength. Thank you to my mother-in-laws for always being supportive, always taking me in. Thank you so many people, and also my family that I may not have been born with, but I was blessed with. My sister Lena, my brother Greg and Thomas, and sister Rebecca, and all of you who have become my family. even if you weren't born that way. So thank you so much for the support. I'm really excited about this second book. I will say that this second book was a bit more of a challenge for me. My very first book, I was madly in love with the idea from the very, very, very get-go. And I feel like maybe I was still completely torn from saying goodbye to those characters and into a new one. But then something clicked. Something wonderful happened in my brain, and now I'm loving this book almost as much, if not more, than my first. So now it seems I have 2 series on my hands. So, for those of you who aren't familiar with my very first book, the very first book that I wrote is called The Healer in the Mist. And it's already available to buy on Amazon, and I am extremely proud of it. The story of its birth, a little bit less painful and traumatic than the other births I've been a part of, but that's really good, though. That's a good thing. So, I was sitting at home, and it was COVID. You know, everybody's got the COVID here. I just want to make sure that if there are any questions popping up here oh, look at everybody. So excited to see everybody. Sorry, I just realized I was on one screen and not the other. So, I was sitting in bed with COVID. I had already figured out what I was doing with bread making, so that challenge was down. I had gotten better with other baking, and my waistline was going, you really need to find a better outlet for this. So I finally decided I'm just going to read some cheesy romances online and see what I like. So, of course, you get onto those things, and you read, you get hooked, and they're like, hey, if you want to do a little bit more today, how about shelling out some money? Well, I wasn't about to do that. But I happened to notice that those sites are for anybody to pay attention to contribute with, write to. I'm really good with my preps today. So I noticed there was a competition. And if the writing was good enough, they would sort of make a contract for you, and you could actually get paid. Well, I do like the money because I am desperate to get me and the kids to Disneyland sometime soon. So I decided I would start. Well, the competition at the time was zombies. And I'm like, ugh, not my thing. But if it was my thing, what would I do? Thus it was born. The idea just came flowing. It was there, and I was going to go, oh my gosh, I can do this that I'm passionate about. I can start about writing this. And it was so awesome. Woo! It was great. So I was really excited about that. And so then I decided to write. I was looking at the contracts for this thing, and it says, hey, if you were to get a contract, we would expect a chapter a day. So I kind of made that my goal, and I punched it out. And then it was done. I don't want it to be done. What should I do with it now? Could I really self-publish a book? Holy cow. So I did. And now I found something in myself that's just so exciting. So that's what I've done. I decided with the second book not to make a sequel yet, to sort of test the waters and see what it was that was going to be working with selling and whatnot, and I would go in and start a different book. So without further ado, I have The Seer and the Dreamers. And I think now would be a good time to have a really nice backdrop, so here we go. Everyone ready? I really like the color scheming in this one, and I'm really excited about my book here, The Seer and the Dreamers. I'll give you a brief synopsis here while I've got my little buddy next to me. The world, of course, is another epic fantasy, because it's a genre I'm incredibly passionate about. So I decided then the best thing to do would be to go with that. In this world, there are people who are gifted enough to be able to walk within people's dreams. Have you ever had a dream? And it's just so bizarre that of course when you look at it, you think that you might be crazy. But what if that dream was trying to tell you something? I started investigating dream symbolism, what things mean in dreams, and it's incredibly fascinating. So I thought my main character could go ahead and walk in dreams, and that was her gift. However, the world that she lives in isn't very fond of people who can do things that other people can't. They're afraid of it. They have a ministry, kind of, don't think so much like spiritual ministry, but more like we run your lives kind of ministry. And we don't like how much self-empowerment the dream dancers are giving to people. So that's why dream dancers are a little bit on the outs. Main character's name is Nara, and she can do this. And she does it to help people. Because she, above all things, likes to help others. Because it would necessarily not like focusing on herself. And that is something that I can kind of relate to, so it was really very nice to write about somebody when you want to see the best in what they are, and then maybe see it in yourself too. So one day the kingdom of Daya gets overtaken by a new king, and everybody is afraid. The king happens to go to Nara's town and sees her, almost as if he was looking specifically for her. And he takes her to the castle to be his maidservant. And she never would have thought that at that point, the world that she was thrust into was going to be a bigger game on a much larger scale than she ever would have imagined. She has a high priestess of the castle who sees her as an obstacle, and a king who is not what he appears to be. And so I really hope that you can check out here the Seer and the Dreamers. I happen to have pre-orders available for Kindle right now, live on Amazon. And as soon as this all gets posted live to the Facebook here, and I figure out a little bit better do that, I'm going to make sure that in the description of this video, there's going to be a link to that, as well as a link to the Healer in the Mist. You can also check out my website. I will definitely have orders there. The book will be released in less than a month, November 21st. Because I like 21. That's a nice number here. And that's going to get it all polished and pretty, and it'll be available on Kindle and paperback. Thank you guys so very much. I see here that we have got awesome feedback going on, and I really, really appreciate that. You guys are being so awesome. Thank you so much for the words. I would like to open this up now to anybody that has questions, either about The Healer in the Mist or this book here. I also want to go ahead and take this opportunity while you guys are typing out your questions. And we'll go ahead and, while you're typing out your questions, I'll go ahead and do my very, very first prize reveal here. For the question submission itself, I did have one, so we're going to have one of the prizes go on over to my very best friend Lane in the entire world. Thank you so much for your question, and we'll go ahead and wiggle that one in here into the questions that are coming up here, but I want to go ahead and grab what it is that you've won. Box reveal. I have for you a coffee mug. Thank you so much, Tyler, for the suggestion for prizes. I really do appreciate that. So it has one of the poems in it. One of the things about this book, more than it has with The Healer in the Mist, is I have original poetry in it. The Healer in the Mist was much more influenced by Shakespeare. There was a Shakespearean song in it. All of the chapters were Shakespearean quotes. This one was much more original with the poetry of it. Let me just check here. So it says, let me read the poem here to you. I hope that you like it. This is part of the Healer, or the Seer and the Dreamers excuse me. Thus in hope the spark was cast, the passion's flame against the cold, to leave behind a bereft task, desired yearnings shape the mold. Let not the fear of falling fade, its threat did not expire, but in the wish the thrill is made, love's journey through the mire. So, I hope you really liked that, Miss Lena, and I will get that to you ASAP. All right, let me check and see if we've got any questions here. Who likes the top of my head? Well, anyway, okay, so I'll go ahead and go with the first question then, was what personal experiences influenced this book? And it's really awesome. I already sort of touched upon the main character. I identified with her in certain ways. She would much rather help others than herself. Not necessarily always a great thing, and not necessarily something I always super condone. And it's part of her art. I often find myself sometimes feeling a lot more confident about helping other people and listening to their problems and being sort of a positive influence or a sounding board and stuff like that than I am about objectively viewing myself. So that was something that was a personal experience for me here. The other personal experience was a very, without going into too much detail, it's a self-image issue. Nara herself, while being incredibly beautiful in her own right, I mean, she wasn't something that you saw out of the crowd and went, hocus smokes, oh my gosh. But she was still very, very beautiful. And sometimes she has a really hard time admitting that to herself. And her art has to deal with that self-image. And I really hope that other people who may have the same feelings, the same personal outlook, might be able to identify with that and take something away with that also. Excuse me. All right, here's a good one. Thank you so much, Jackie, my spouse. She says, I know you said you started writing at a young age, but what does writing do for you? Awesome question. I love it, Jackie. Thank you. Writing for me, there are times when I feel like writing has been an incredibly therapeutic outlet. I have had my share of the drama, and I have been to more than one therapist. Sometimes they work, sometimes they aren't as effective for me in that point in time. However, no matter what happened ever in my life, writing was always the constant just point where it was always worth doing to help me. One specific example here. Okay, so sorry, I don't want to fall behind on any of these messages. You guys are being incredibly talkative, and I love it. You guys are making me so happy. I love it. So, for one example here about the therapeutic thing. It's been more than 7 years, but I can't pinpoint it at the exact moment. I lost my life brother. He was stricken with depression. And it is a subject that I don't think that even to this day I have 100% dealt with. I put that experience into the healer in the mist. And I let a lot of things air out through my writing. And I don't want to give too much away if you haven't already read that, and I really hope that you would. But that's definitely something that I find therapeutic. So as much as I hope that it's going to be getting me to Disneyland, what I really like writing for is for myself and for that sense of accomplishment and that sense of self. You know, I didn't make it in the acting, wanted to, but didn't. But in a way, this is something that I created to tell a story, and that's what I really like to do, is to tell a story. And so that's what I really, really hope that will interest you all here. Charlie, what would you say to people who want to write but are worried about what others think about them? Totally get that. I will not ever say that this isn't an incredibly terrifying thing. Every single time I was putting out this book and I'm going, okay, what did you think? Please be nice. Okay, it's hard. It's hard. And it's a lot harder in a way even further than acting, because there are a lot of things that people can miss in a performance. But this is on paper, and they can go back and they can scrutinize, and you have made mistakes, and it is hard. All I can say is the biggest thing that I ever took away to try and get me over that was to remember that in the end, am I proud of myself? Am I happy with what I did? And I am. Also, a healthy dose of constructive criticism with some positive reinforcement definitely didn't hurt. But in the end, it's just sort of like you have to say, are you okay with putting yourself out there, or are you not? And that's really the biggest thing that I can say, is just remember who you're doing it for in the end. And in the end, I was doing it for me. I was doing it for my kids, who made me believe that I could do anything. They gave me the strength to make major life changes for the betterment of my family, and I am thankful for that. I did it for my husband, who always supported me, and I did it for my mom, who always believed in me. So I just remember the cheerleaders. You'll get people who aren't necessarily cheerleaders, but just remember to do it for yourself and cheerleaders. Let's see here. Do you have Kinakoa? Do you have an outline process? I do. I don't have it with me, but that would have been a really good thing to show you. I have a big, huge notebook where I was, it's the bubble outlines, where, and I've always been a fan of them ever since they taught it to you in grade school. I love bubble outlines. That's my major point of mapping things. I was outlining the overarching story arc. I was outlining character arc. I was outlining chapters. I was outlining thematic experiences here. Bubble chart. I loved it. It was my favorite thing ever. It looks so amazing. The cover is absolutely beautiful. I can't wait to read it. Thanks, Sky. I appreciate you. Oh my gosh. Let's see here if I have any other questions. Who likes the top of my head again? I dyed my roots for you. Okay. When are you going to start your third book? Because I give it 2 weeks. Probably. I think that I was going to go ahead and after so whoever said that knows me totally well. I really do want to get started. My next book is going to be a sequel to The Healer in the Mist, because I am so in love with those characters, and I have the percolations of an amazingly delicious sequel, and I'm so ready to get started on that. However, I want to make sure that this book gets the release it deserves. I want to try to sort of get my next newsletter out, which should be coming out in the first couple of weeks of November. So if anybody wants to sign up for that, please visit my website, and I promise you I'm going to have a link to that at the bottom of the page here as soon as this goes live on after it ends. It'll be up on Facebook with the description. I will have my website up if you are interested in getting those newsletters. Please subscribe. I will make sure that you get it, and everybody who subscribes because of today's cover reveal event, I have a little surprise for you that I'll get out in the mail. I'll even physically mail it to you. Oh my gosh. We'll actually be getting mail in this day and age with a president's sign? It's totally fine. All right. Have you ever wanted to write, have you only ever wanted to write fantasy? Well, that's really an interesting question, because that really is definitely fiction. I have always I don't believe that I have the know-it-all to do any type of nonfiction. I think the thing that I am the most informed about would probably be the Holocaust, but there are enough of those books out there, and I don't know nearly as much as other people. So we're going to stick to the fiction. The very first thing that I ever wrote that I was the most proud of was that story of the little boy and his typewriter. That wasn't necessarily fantasy, but it was fiction. I'm a little bit of a drama queen. Who could tell? So I always liked the dramatic, large worlds, epic themes, which is why I love writing fantasy. I'm not saying that I'm totally opposed to it, but it's the element in which I feel the most comfortable with, and it's definitely what I always read, like Anne Rice, such as my Aunt Debbie got me hooked on to. Thank you, Aunt Debbie. The Witching Hour series, all of those other types of fantasy fictions I loved. I just love the prospect of things that could. It's so unbound and so full of incredible potential. That's what I like about fantasy. You can make anything happen. I mean, you can make anything happen in anything. But I love the possibility of magic and just the idea of, I always love the imagery of somebody having their hand open and just flame or magic or light coming out of it. I always wanted that. And don't think as a child I didn't try to make it happen. Who is my favorite fantasy author? I would have to say Anne Rice, though I don't know if she would necessarily consider herself fantasy as much as sort of fiction, horror, but she is my favorite. She is my absolute favorite. I loved The Witching Hour. That was my very first favorite book. I also very much enjoy Orson Scott Card. My husband's got me hooked on Ender's Game when we first started dating. Not going to lie, totally read it to impress a boy, but I really liked it. And then somebody in middle school, her name is Jackie Meadows, except she wasn't Meadows back then. But anyway, she gave me a book from Orson Scott Card called Enchantments, and I ate that up. It was gorgeous. I loved it. Now, I know that that's a little controversial. Orson Scott Card is a real jerk, and I will not condone everything that he has ever said and stood for ever. I hate that, and everything that I read was before I heard about all of that. But the writing, I do like the writing aspect of that. So those are my two big ones. I would say my writing is definitely influenced off poetical language of like Shakespeare and Frost. But when it comes to world building and character creation, Anne Rice is my girl. Let's see here. If Healer in the Mist becomes a movie, who would you want to star in it? I love that question. Thank you, Lena. That is great. So let's see here. If Healer in the Mist were to be a movie, I think that the character of Durai would it would have to be somebody who is just delicious and sultry and a little bit dark. I would kind of want to see Benedict Cumberbatch just because that voice is exactly what I had in mind when I was writing it. But also really, really, really enjoyed his acting here. Or I would really actually like to see Chris Evans take on an evil role. I mean, we saw a little bit of evil in Knives Out, but anyway. The part of Althea, that's a hard one. I'm not sure. I don't think I ever really thought about who would play her in a movie, even though I definitely was seeing this played out as a movie as I was writing it. Probably an up-and-coming, possibly no name. I know that that's sort of like a cheap way out, but I really can't think of anybody who fits the bill. And so those are the two biggest characters that, that is definitely something that I think I kind of want to put in the newsletter. Thanks for that question. I'm totally going to run with that. Let's see here. If your book becomes a Broadway show, can I be the star? Yes, of course you can, Miss Jackie. I really want you to be. Sell it, girl. Kill it. Slay it. Sorry, that is a Eliza Schlesinger joke, and I love her anyway. So I'll just go ahead and do one more question here before I go with the rest of the prizes. And let me see here. Have you ever thought about writing a bio of yourself, your life? What advice do you have for someone like me who's been through hell and back and wants to put it out there for the world to see. I love it. Thank you so much for being brave enough to even ask that. You know what? I have at times thought about doing a bio because ever since I was little, and I had my very, very first journal given to me by my mom, and it was just a random day. It wasn't. I got home from visitation with my dad, and there was just a journal there. And I remember my very, very first entry that I was really excited. I got a journal, a diary that has its own lock and key, and I ate hot dogs as a snack when I got home. Anyway, so, isn't it weird the things that our memories remember? Anyway, I've ever since writing in there, I have always said, God, these horrible things have happened. Oh my God, this has happened. I have been through this tough time. I've been through that tough time. I am currently dealing with some trauma on a personal level that, you know, certain individuals who I've had to, as painful as it is, cut out because of PTSD responses that it has in me and everything. But how proud I am of things like that, and how it has influenced who I have been as a person. So I really, really like that idea. So it is definitely something that I would do, not necessarily soon, but possibly in the future. For anybody thinking of doing something like that, I can't stress enough how much I would love to support that. And you can always reach out to me or to your friends, your family, anybody. And I know I'm speaking for myself. Be happy to help you out. Like I said, writing is incredibly cathartic, and it can be a therapist. And even if you're just writing it for yourself and it never sees the light of day other than your eyes, it's worth it. It's so worth it. So I think that the best thing to do would be to just let it flow for a while. You have to keep yourself a little notepad at all times. Just anytime you ever think of, oh my God, this right here, da-da-da-da-da. I've had experiences where I've had a panic attack, and I go, I can write and use this, and I did. So I think for the very first thing to do when you're writing about yourself is just let it go. Get the good thoughts, the raw thoughts, the unfiltered potential of it all out on paper, and the rest can come in editing. You can take it from here and piece it where it goes like a giant jigsaw puzzle. And I really think that that would be an enormously wonderful thing, especially for people who have been through hell and back. So you definitely have my support, and I'm sure you have the support of others here. All right. Let me go ahead, and I will go with the next the prize. That's the word I'm looking for. Little background on my day. Obviously, I was not last-minuting this in the way that you saw. Obviously, that took a lot of work. But in a way, I did have a lot of last-minute stuff, so if I'm a little harebrained here. My uncle, Rudy, who I've loved for ever since I was a kid, he is in the hospital right now because of medication complications and other things that I'm sure that you may not want on here. My grandpa is also in the hospital, and I just had to make sure that my dad got to urgent care. So in a way, I kind of was last-minuting this today because things fell apart. So anyway, if you can send good thoughts to my family, we need them and we appreciate them. So the next prize that I had, since I had a few people and I didn't want to spin a wheel like I thought, because then that means that one person may potentially get all the prizes. So for all of you that have supported this, and all of you that have thought of, been there to help promote this with me here, this is going to be the prize that I had set aside for those who shared the link with me. And the winner that came out of the hat was Tyler Burks. And get ready here. I have for you a frosted glass for whatever it is that you like that has the cover on it. Nice frosted glass here, usually for things like, I don't know, do you drink beer? I don't know. Thank you guys so much, everybody who did that. I appreciate all of you who shared that for me, and I really hope that you continue to support in the future. I can't thank you enough. Every single one of you who are here and helped support this whole effort, you all have been absolutely 100% drop dead amazing. And for the very, very last, I'm going to get down here. Okay, and then for my very last piece here, for those of you who signed up to subscribe to my my blog and my website and to be contacted and everything like that, I have, for Miss Jackie, thank you so much, my girl, I have a calendar for you. It's a 2021 calendar, and it's going to have a lot of different pictures here I've got with the Healer in the Mist book cover title and everything, and also the book cover for this, as well as some poetry from the Seer and the Dreamers. I want to go ahead and do another poem before we go. And also, if you have any last minute questions, I'll take one more here since it looks like, yeah. Okay, cool. I really, really appreciate everybody who came out to do this here today. This has been a thrill for me. All of your support has been absolutely amazing. I cannot stress that enough, even if I have to say it 10 million more times. Thank you all so very much. And what I want to go ahead and leave you with is one more poem from the Seer and the Dreamers. Again, the Seer and the Dreamer is available for pre-order right now. I think somebody's doing a drive-by honky event. Awesome. Honking, not honky. Anyway. So again, that's going to be available for pre-order now for all Kindle. And I appreciate everybody who goes on in and pre-orders ahead of time. It's going to be released on November 21st. And the paperback will be available at that time as well for anybody who likes the feel of paper in their hands and everything. And trust me, I know. Anybody who is interested in getting signed up for the mailing list, please hit up my website so that you can subscribe to my blog and emailing list. I do appreciate that as well. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Indie Fantasy Author Samantha Deering. So here's my very last little bit for you here. The seasons change, though we wish it not. The stars burn bright and disappear in a blackened night, though we wish it not. Tears freely flow, unbridled like rivers. Even greener grass withers under the cold of snow, though we wish it not. The intricate waltz of time and fate bend the patterns of the heavens and rule over the wind. Thus is thus. There are no faults. But shame to those who wait at the start. In them they have themselves to blame, though they wish it not. It is not for us to hold back the breath of onward. The all is in the dancing. Thank you all again so very, very much. I definitely appreciate everybody who came to see me here today. If you ever have any questions, please be sure to hit me up, but not physically, please, I bruise easily. And I look forward to seeing everybody in all of my future videos. Bless you all. Stay safe and happy Halloween! You guys stay safe. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a good day.